Hello and welcome to Bobeats Coffee with Bo livestream, synth Q&A, music production Q&A. It's a early or semi-early morning in the summer of Sweden, and I'm just sitting here with a cup of coffee, and I wanted to hang out with you guys. And I'll probably do a highlight reel of this live stream as well further down the line. So the idea is to talk a little bit about synths, about music production, and play some music. So I hope you are some people that are tuning in, and we'll be starting off by listening to a new track that I'm working on, kind of a synth track, and then we'll follow up with some questions and some answers. So I can see some people joining in right now. Spiros, Christian Naumann, good seeing you guys. I got a question here. How was the vacation? So it's actually the last weekend of the vacation, and to top things off, I am home alone for the entire weekend. The wife is away with my daughter, so that means I can live stream a bit more, and I can also do a bit more of music. I see David Thompson. Always good seeing you, mate. Good morning back to you. Mesh, good seeing you. You're having a coffee in the garden. Well, I'm having a coffee inside in my dark, closed up studio. It's raining outside. It's like super dark weather. It's a typical Swedish summer, so that's all good. Good seeing you, Discophone. Hiroko Yamamura, good seeing you as well. Because I want to let people join in on the live stream, I'll start off by playing a new track that I'm working on. It's kind of it's a perfect morning tune. I think it's very chill. It's made with the V collection from Arturia. I just recently got it, and I've been checking it out, and I think you can do some pretty cool sounds with it. So I'm going to start that up, and when we are listening to music, I always mute the mic so you don't hear me breathing because we don't want to get all Darth Vader up in the place. So let's see here if we can make this work. Alright, so that was a little synthwave style track that I made with Arturia V collection, and I actually used a lot of guitar rig effects, and I saw I had a question in the chat about the reverb, and yeah, pretty much all the effects, the reverbs, the delays, the compressions and all that are from guitar rig. I really started to enjoy guitar rig from Native Instruments a lot more since I delved into the kind of modular way that you can make effects on it. Basically what you got in guitar rig is you have all these modules that you can, it sounds like it's for guitars, but it's really just it's just a effects rig. You have all these modules that you can connect together and modulate different parameters, and the more I learn about that, the more intrigued I am. I do prefer it to using effects in Cubase, for example, and automating them linearly or over the course of a track. I do think it's more akin to working with a synthesizer doing it in the guitar rig. So good seeing some people here. Let's see if we have any questions and people I haven't said hello to. I had one of the more funny how to say, rude comments, I suppose, in the chat. It was pretty funny. And I am Brown is here. Good seeing you, mate. Blaisley, good seeing you as well. Julian, good seeing you here as well. So let's see if we have any other questions here. Jonathan Ray, good seeing you here. Jonathan says that he's walking home with Bobeats. I hope you are safe, mate, and I hope it's a good walk home. I suppose if you're walking home, I'm guessing is it night where you're at, Jonathan? So the track I was just playing is kind of the style of music I want to really get more into, the kind of chill, a bit 70s 80s sounding synth wave kind of music, and I want to mesh that with some more heavy beats as well if I can. I saw some questions about the Diva, the Diva synth. It's not a synth I've tried, so I can't really say anything about that. Discophone says that the drums in this song sounded pretty nice, and I really think they do. I think that the drum brute can be underappreciated sometimes. It does have a pretty particular sound, if I might say that, if I may say. By that I mean that it's. For example, I got a question the other day about the drum brute. Should I get it for EDM, for example? And my answer would be no. If you're doing like, the kind of very modern EDM stuff that a lot of people are doing today, I wouldn't suggest a drum brute. I don't really see a big reason why you'd need that. I think you can do pretty well with samples, with something like Battery, or just dropping samples in Cubase or Logic or Fruity Loops or something. But for other styles, especially if you're not hardcore electronic artist, if you're making rock or pop or something, I think there's a lot of room for the drum brute in those kinds of songs, as well as different types of electronic music, of course. It has this kind of organic sound, that's what I like. And in my review, I kind of pointed out that it has this dynamic range that is really interesting. And what I mean by that is that some people, for example, has said that the analog rhythm from Electron, it's very clean sounding, and the drum brute, it's not really clean sounding, and the sounds are really, I feel they're kind of alive. Like the kick, sometimes you have to be careful, like if you just increase it a little bit, it goes all over the place because of how rich of dynamic, how uncompressed it is, I would say. So that's very cool. So let's see, what other questions do we have? Blaisley asks, do you think the younger generation are as interested in synths as the older, I suppose you're asking? Well, no, I don't think so. I think there's, of course, a resurgence or revival when it comes to synths, but I do think that synthesizers as a physical product has its appeal to younger people, but it's still so expensive for most people that it's kind of hard, I think, to justify in many young people's lives. And I think there's so much good virtual instruments out there, and I think there's so much good software to kind of rid yourself of the need for hardware, that I think we're not going back to having a major focus on hardware. Of course, if you're a part of like the DAW-less community, or if you're the kind of guy who really, like me, who really likes the hardware stuff, there will always be people enjoying that, but I don't think we're going back. I think it's a bit like with the CDs and the vinyl and so on. I think we're moving forward. I think we'll just be seeing more software versions or like hybrid things rather than the pure physical synthesizers. Because even though Eurorack is popular in some way today, and I can really see why, it's still a very small group. It's not very broad. I mean, the numbers of people, it's not a big group. So let's see here, what other questions do we have here? KLLR asks, would you recommend the Arturia Moog clone, or have you tried others, Core Gadget, for example? I can't really speak to Core Gadget on a computer. I tried it on an iPad. I think the Core Gadget is okay. I do think that Arturia V Collection is very good. I've also been testing out the IK Multimedia Syntronic, and I will play you a demo of that later on as well. I've been testing out Syntronic a lot, and Syntronic is sort of like the Arturia V Collection, but it's more sample based, I would say. So whereas Arturia V Collection is about 8 gigabytes or 6 gigabytes, I'm not entirely sure. The Syntronic from IK Multimedia is about 60 or 80 gigabytes because of all the samples that you have to download to the synths. And you can also see when you're loading presets on it, it takes a little bit of a longer time because it has to load into the RAM, I suppose. So that is also a very interesting package of synthesizers if you want Moog clones, if you want Jupiter and Juno clones and so on. I think it sounds really good as well. I think some of the sounds are better than the Arturia sounds, but at the same, because they are sample based, there's always some some benefits of having those samples in the background. But then again, you don't have the deep customization and the deep programmability of the Arturia V Collection, which is more CPU based, so it has less samples in it. So Syntronic and the Arturia V Collections are my go-to at the moment. So let's see here if we have any other questions. HPS asks, affordable reverb plugin, or should I stick with Machine's reverb? So I'm kind of boring when it comes to these questions about plugins, because I have had this journey where I had a ton of plugins like a while back that I used, and then I sold off a lot of my gear and a lot of my stuff. And when I went back into music production again, I stuck with the sort of stock plugins for the most part. So when it comes to reverbs, compressors, and the like, I do feel like there's very little reason to get third-party versions unless you really feel like you've exhausted your resources, or if you know that you can't get the results you want from the stock plugins. And of course, this could be a controversial topic to some, because there are a great deal of great third-party versions. I'm not saying there aren't, but I'm saying that for most people, you don't really need that. You can just use the stuff that you get with your DAW and be fine with it. If you got money to spend, if you know that you need something else that you don't got, sure, go ahead, get something. But if you're just looking for like an inexpensive solution to satisfy your want to buy stuff, or like this thought that maybe something will sound better, then I think you can just stick with the standard stuff. I don't see any reason why you should move beyond machine plugins. That's the standard plugins. And I know my mate Accurate Beats from Accurate Beats here on YouTube, he told me like he has this workflow where he uses a couple of the standard machine plugins, and he doesn't really, you know, switch that up. He just uses those, the plugins. I'm sure he uses some third party as well, and he's satisfied with that. It works for his workflow. So I don't think, you know, buying is always the right thing to do. And yeah, as KLLR says, that the Valhalla Shimmer is an absolutely lovely, affordable reverb. And I do agree with KLLR. Is it killer? KLLR. I haven't used it much, the Valhalla Shimmer, but it does come highly recommended. And I saw a couple of videos just this weekend from some professional guys that used it. So the Valhalla stuff is definitely good. That's very, very clear. Discophone has to go. Good seeing you, mate. Hope you have a pleasant day. I Am Brown asks, I recently bought an Ovation circuit. Is there any way to use it to trigger clips like a launch pad, or do I definitely need a separate launch pad? So I'm not sure, because I don't use Ableton Live. I'm not certain. I'm kind of torn on that. I think I've seen people use it to launch clips, but at the same time I'm pretty certain it's not the most practical way to use it. I'm pretty certain that a standalone launchpad would be really nice to have. So yeah, I mean, just from looking at other producers who uses Live, I would guess that a standalone launchpad would be really good to have as well. That's my take on it. So let's see here. Floyd asks, did you pick up the Circuit Mono Station yet? No, I haven't picked it up. I'm kind of in this situation where I don't want to invest more money into new gear at the moment, and I'm working out some deals with some companies in order to check out and review gear, because I've said it before, I'm transparent with these matters. I can't really sustain doing YouTube at this level I'm doing at the moment and buy a ton of gear for full price or even buying it at all the time. And sometimes I have to ask companies to send me stuff in order to review and check it out. So that's sort of where I'm at the moment. And with the Circuit Mono Station, I am talking to Novation, but we haven't figured anything out yet that is finalized. So maybe I'll check it out in the future. That depends in large on Novation, I think, at the moment. Oh, Hiroko. Yeah, I saw your question, Hiroko, about latency. How do you deal with latency when recording hardware into your DAW? So latency I'm not entirely sure about how it works technically. What I've learned so far, and perhaps somebody can correct me in the chat if they have more technical understanding of this, but as I've come to understand it over the years, latency is a combination of the sound card you're using, the drivers on that sound card, the hardware in that sound card, and the CPU of the computer. So basically, if you have a bad sound card with bad drivers and a slow computer, you'll need to increase the buffer on the sound card. What exactly a buffer is, I'm not entirely sure. I don't. I probably shouldn't even try to explain with my limited understanding of what a buffer is. But you have to increase the buffer, and when you increase the buffer, the latency is increased. So basically, the way I handle it is that I've always tried to get a decent enough sound card. Basically a sound card from a manufacturer that has known stable drivers with decent latency. And of course, moving up from USB to USB 2 or USB Type C, or moving up to Thunderbolt or Firewire even, has always impacted the latency for me. So I had I had a PCI card way back. I still have it in my old studio computer with like 6 inputs, but it had a pretty terrible latency for some reason. And then I moved to a FireWire card, and I got down the latency to about 6 milliseconds with the FireWire. It was a Focusrite Sapphire Pro, a FireWire card. And then I moved over to 2 different Thunderbolt cards. So I had a Resident Audio Thunderbolt card that I've sold now because it wasn't really that good. And it didn't work with the new generations of MacBook Pros because the chipset, the old Thunderbolt chipset, didn't work with the newer USB Type-C Thunderbolt chipsets. Yeah, it's a big mess, but you can read up on it. And then I got the Focusrite Claret 8 Pre, which is a really good and solid card. I can highly recommend it, and it has 8 physical inputs, and you can expand it up to 16 inputs with ADAT and 2 more, so 18 inputs if you use the digital coaxial inputs as well. So with that sound card and my MacBook, and with my iMac from 2011, so it's an i5, it's not a very fast computer. With that, I can record 16 channels of audio at about 3 or 4 millisecond latency. And I did like a really long recording, and I didn't have any problems over the 16 channels, even though I don't have a Focusrite expansion. I have the Behringer expansion as well. The ADAT expansion is sitting over there. And it worked really nicely. So that worked. Yeah, it worked really nicely. And of course, so when I have, say, when I'm recording 16 channels of audio, that also taxes the hard drive. So the hard drive might become an issue as well. And my hard drive is getting slower, so I noticed that when I'm playing a lot of audio tracks, I get some issues with that as well. But for software synthesizers, I can still load a decent amount into Cubase with that low setting. I think I'm using a buffer of 64. Is it milliseconds? 64? Yeah, 64 buffer, whatever it exactly means. So I'm using the 64 buffer, and if I ever feel like the computer is getting like the CPU is peaking, I just increase the buffer to 128, and I get about like 6 or 7 millisecond latency, and that's pretty dope as well. So I hope you. Hiroko also asks about recording. How many inputs do you tend to record at once? So I don't really record that many inputs at once regularly. I just have a lot of inputs. So I have a lot of inputs. I have 16 inputs. I can expand it to 18 if I want to. Like I have a old sound card I can use for 2 more inputs if I want to. But I don't really use that a lot. I just have it. I guess I have it because it's easier that way to record things without muting things or without needing a physical mixer. So I was kind of torn. Should I get a mixer? Should I get a big sound card? But at the end, I realized that just keeping it to a sound card with the types of gear I'm using. So for example, if I had done more live recording of more hardware instruments or more traditional instruments, I would probably have gotten a decent mixer and connected that to a sound card with multiple I/O or something like a Soundcraft signature. But since I do mainly like electronic music, and I mainly record stuff as audio stems or audio samples, I don't really need a mixer, and I didn't really feel like that was the way I wanted to go. So I got the Claret 8 Pre and the Behringer in order to have 16 inputs, so I don't have to, pull so much stuff out and in and out. And I have it, as you might see over there, I have it set up on Patchbase as well. So I have all the inputs and outputs on the Patchbase. So it's a very easy way to disconnect stuff and interconnect stuff. So, I can see MU8 Sound, good morning. Good morning to you. Dash Glitch, good morning to you as well. If I didn't say hello to you, let's see if there's any new people here. Let's see here. Sharky39, good seeing you as well. So guys, I'm just going to drink a little bit more coffee. I'm going to play you a new song and I'm going to read up on some of the questions you've been posting. Keep the questions coming if you have any, and we'll listen to a new song that I have going on. And I'm always muting the mic while we're listening to music, so you don't have to hear me breathe. But I'm still here. We'll keep answering some questions after this little tune. Alright, so that was a little beat that I made in the summer of 2016. I made it as a demo for the Converse sample library. The Converse sample library is available online. You can just Google Converse sample library. It's totally free to use. I wasn't paid by them or anything. I just checked it out. And you have all these very organic sounding drums and guitars and so on. So what I did was I just took like a couple of drum loops, I cut them up, I think I sped them up a bit, and I like programmed this beat that you heard, and I applied these kind of guitar-y, I'm not really sure how to describe it, but atmospheric guitar sounds. And then I just played a melody on top of it with the Massive plugin from Native Instruments. I think there's a bass line from Native Instruments Massive as well, or a bass sound from that synthesizer. I also used some arpeggio stuff. Can't remember from which synth. Maybe I used Nexus. Not sure. And yeah, I just kept working at this tune during this summer because I thought it had some kind of potential. So I thought it was it's very organic. So let's see, what kind of questions do we have here. I can't pronounce this name here. Orate. I will just say Orate. Orate asks, have you listened to Ken Ishii? No, I haven't. I'm really bad at listening to other artists. I listen mostly to fellow peers, like my friends and everybody. Yeah, you guys, you send me stuff, and I listen to stuff on different forums and so on. But I'm really bad at listening to current artists. I just don't have that kind of time, I guess. Christian Neumann asks, you listed the Minilogue as your favorite synth a while back. What sets it apart from others for you? So I thought about this. Why is the Minilogue my kind of favorite synth, and why do I recommend it so highly? So it's not just because it sounds good. There are problems with the sound, and it's like any analog synth I know. If you don't really like the tone of it, you shouldn't buy it. It's like with the drum brute. If you don't like if you just listen to it and you're like, nah, I don't feel it, don't buy it. With digital synths, there's often more, I'd say, more range, what types of sound you can create and what kind of feel to the sound. With analog synths, there's often this like core feel to them. So if you don't like the sound of the Minilogue, I don't see any reason why you should force yourself to buy it. But when it comes to me, I think for me it's always a balance between between the sound of a synth, the workflow of a synth, how you can actually use it, and the sort of I'd say, yeah, the kind of accessibility. So I guess that kind of goes into the workflow. So basically how you use it and how it sounds together is very important for me. So I often end up sitting and tweaking sounds on the Minilogue and have a lot of fun with it. I can often create something that I feel is authentic to myself, that is personal, and that's why I enjoy it a lot. I enjoy my other synths as well. I think the Moog Sub 37 is a close second when it comes to the synth I go to. But at the same time, I do feel like something like the Analog Keys is less so because it has less onboard control. I really like the one knob for one function kind of deal that you have on the Minilogue, and I think for the price it's brilliant. Ian Brown asks, have you seen the new Roland SE02 analog module? Seems like this would be right up your street. Yeah, I've seen it. I've listened to a lot of demos of the Roland SE2, and I think it looks really interesting. But I don't really enjoy the super small form factor, even though I have really small hands. That doesn't mean anything. You know, you can become president even if you have small hands. So that's good to know. But yeah, even though I have small hands, I still feel like this super tiny form factor. I'm not sure if it's for me. But it sounds really good, and if I can say this, if there's any boutique synth I will get, it's the SE02. But I'm hoping for the SH 202 101. They're talking about a potential clone of the SH series as well, so that would be very cool. Lost Systems 1 asks, Digitact ? I suppose you're referring to the song I played. So the song I played was not made on the Digitact. DJ Free, good seeing you as well. Tony Duncan, if I didn't say hello to you. Basic Noise, good seeing you. George Ray, good seeing you. Jackson, good seeing you as well. Sharky, I see some other people here as well. Really nice having you all here. So let's see here. So let's see here. Yeah, all right. All the songs I'm playing today is made by me. They are in kind of a demo stage. I usually, when I do live streams, I do 3 types of live streams. So this is a Coffee with Bo live stream. It's more chill. We talk. I kind of, I don't really have a script what I want to do, and I play you some music. That's kind of what it is. I answer questions. It's a good way for me to connect with you guys. And then I have the gear live streams, so I'm planning to do like a Minilog live stream, making some sounds live with that, and some more Digitact streams as well, but I try to change it up. And then we have what I haven't done it yet, but I'm planning to do music review live streams. So why I haven't done it is because it does take a little bit more little bit more preparation, but I am thinking of doing a music review live stream this evening. So if you are interested in that, you should really check me out over on Facebook. You can just go to Facebook and you type Bobeats, and you're looking for the page just called Bobeats, and you'll see my face. And if you go to that page and you press follow or like or whatever you do on Facebook, you'll be notified, I think, when I'm posting about the music review live stream. So the music review live streams will be a place where we'll not be listening to my music, but we will be listening to your music, and I'll be giving feedback. I'm not sure if I can say anything worthwhile, but I think it's a good way to promote you guys. I think it's a good way to listen to interesting music and to talk a bit about it. And it's not going to be one of those, one of those critical review streams that you see sometimes on YouTube, where people are kind of rude and they do, I think sometimes review streams can be a bit harsh. So I'm more coming in with that, like a very positive vibe, trying to, I think ultimately what I want to do is, emphasize personality, emotion, feeling in the music. It's not a review stream where I'll be like, you have to do this and this to get this song to work on the charts or something, because, that's not my style. So let's see here. DJ Free asks, can you explain how to use the LFO and the ADSR to get vintage-like sounds? Oh, I can't really explain it like right here and right now. I get that kind of question. I need to have like a synth before me or planned out. But I think like vintage sounds, sometimes vintage sounds, to me at least, one thing you should really try and do is detune and oscillators a bit. That's one thing I see people not doing so much with more current sounds. Just trying to add a little bit of instability or assigning the LFO to the pitch in order to get that kind of little bit of a wobbly feel to the pitch. That can be really interesting. So let's see here. We had a effects pedal question here somewhere. Let's see here. Jackson asks, have you ever tried to make your own synthesizers or effect pedals? No, it's pretty well known that I'm not the most practical of people. I think I could probably learn to do it. My father was a very practical man. He was really good at building things and renovating and so on. But, I never got into doing that kind of electronic work, making stuff. I was interested in it when I was a kid, but I never developed my skill in it. I was more into drawing and painting and music rather than building stuff. So I'm enticed by it. I'm very interested by it. I often watch like programming streams or programming videos, or like where they build stuff or where they make stuff. I even watched those Lego YouTube videos where they make like contraptions with Lego, because it's very interesting to me, but I'm not good at it. Sharky39 asks, does Minilog have good pads like in Microkorg? I would say it like this. The Minilog can do pads, but it doesn't really have that kind of really heavy atmospheric and warm feel. It has a more 80s sounding feel to the pads. It's kind of harsh in some ways. So I do think that the Microkorg is probably the better at pads for general usage. Discophone is back again. Good seeing you, mate. Did I miss much of talking? Yeah, you missed a fair bit of talking. David Thompson has to go. Good seeing you, mate. Alright asks, when did you start making music? So I started making music like in 97 or 98. It's so long ago that it's starting to become like a blur. I guess I have to write it down sometime, but it was somewhere around 97 or 98. And if you want to check out my story, I think on my YouTube, just a couple of videos down, I have like a highlight reel from one live stream where I talk about how I started making music and the kind of story behind it. It's a little bit fun, I suppose. So you can check that out if you want to. John Chester, always good seeing you as well. So let's see here. Christian Naumann says it's 1:40 a.m. here, time for bed. Okay, so where you're at, Christian? I didn't really see it before. John Chester, I can see that some of your comments are disappearing. I don't know why. DJ Free. Sorry, the stream froze for you. That's no good. I don't think I have any dropped frames on my end. I think it was YouTube probably. No, I don't have any dropped frames. I have a pretty good internet. What was your question, DJ Free? Let me see here. DJ Free, yeah, about the vintage sound. The vintage, it's kind of hard to explain how to make, just for me right now, to make it like a vintage sound. I guess it depends on what you mean by vintage sound. But one thing I can say about vintage sound, to me at least, is that it has a little bit more of an instability to it. For example, the pitch might shift a little bit. So there's this unpredictability or instability to the sound, and that's something I think you can do with an LFO to pitch, for example, a little bit. Yeah, I think I've answered some of your questions. All right. I just don't know how to I don't know how to pronounce your name. I am Brown. Good having you. Have a sip of the coffee. Have a great day if you have to go. So let's see here. Let's see what kind of questions do we have here. Context. Good seeing you, Context. Hey, back to you. How is your creating flow when you're building up a song? So basically, how am I making music when I build a song? This is something I thought a lot about. I think that I'm closing in on a way that works for me, but I've made it, I've done it in a number of different ways. Sometimes I've started with a cool sound, sometimes I started with a drum beat, sometimes I've just tried a chord progression. But ultimately, what works for me the most is sitting down, trying to find a good melody, something strong, something that moves me, and go from there. I've said before that, it could just be a sound, but I've come to realize that if I don't want to end up with something that sounds mediocre pretty quickly, I really have to start with the melody. That's what works for me. I can't rely on starting with the drums because I'm not really driven by drums. Most of my music is not very percussive, really. I mean, it's not my strong suit. So I think I often start with a melody or a progression. Also because sometimes when you do like a progression, say a verse, for example, and I don't quickly follow it up with a chorus, it becomes harder further down the line. Maybe I've overproduced the verse and suddenly it's kind of hard to feel like, where do I want the chorus to go? So often nowadays I try to keep it as simple as possible, trying to find like a progression I think is interesting and move from that. So I suppose that's, yeah, but it's something that is ever changing for me at least. So I think in order to answer this question also, I can play you a new little song I've been working on. Some of you guys might have heard it. Some of you guys might have heard this song. It's a song that I used for the demos of my new Minilogue patches. If you haven't checked out my Minilogue patches, and if you're interested in those, you can always go to my YouTube and check out one of my latest videos. But this song is really a song where I started with a progression and built kind of around it. And I'm not sure, the version I'm playing you, I'm not sure if this is the final version. I mean, if this is actually how it will even sound or anything close to it. I'm just testing out different types of drums and different types of sounds around it. But it's at least, you know, it's at least a start. So I think I can I think you can listen to it and see how I built up like the melodic progression in the song. And I'm not sure if it's done, but can give you a feel for it. So let's see here. Yeah, so I'm just going to mute the mic and I'm going to play you a song. And Hiroko, I'm going to get back to your question as well. And here's a little song I made with mainly Minilogue sounds. So that was a little song or melodic progression that I made mainly using the Minilogue. I saw some questions about the effects on this song. So I've recorded the Minilogue as audio, as a mono track, and I did apply some external effects. It's also three tracks of Minilogue sounds. So there's the center, and then I've also panned two of the tracks to give it a little bit of more a broader sense, and I applied some chorus to the left and right as well to give it some movement, because since the Minilogue is mono, it can sometimes be a little bit stale. And I think the effects are guitar rig effects as well as the built-in Cubase effects, so a chorus from Cubase. I think that's pretty much where it comes from. And the drums are from the drum brute, because I've just recently hooked up the drum brute to my mixer and using it via USB MIDI, and it's really smooth. So I don't use the onboard sequencer and just set it up in a way that I like the sound, and I just use it as like a drum module, and that's a lot of fun as well. So I know Hiroko had a question before I saw you posting it. Do you record your Electron gear via overbridge or over analog cable so you can use effects? I've tried using overbridge, and while I think it's a pretty brilliant software, I don't want to rely on it. I don't really feel like getting into that workflow, because I have all these external synths because I really want to have them as external synths. I don't really want to use like software in between. So I record everything as physical analog audio via my sound card. That's the way I use it. but I might change when the Digitact Overbridge is launched. I might actually use that to record the 8 tracks from the Digitact over USB, because that could be very practical. So let's see here if we have any other questions. Basic Noise says that the song I played could be a soundtrack to a cool TV show with some kids chasing monsters. Yeah, I kind of got that kind of TV movie feel, 80s feel. I know it's kind of all the rage, or was a couple of months back when Stranger Things launched and the soundtrack and so on, but I really, you know, there's just something I enjoy with that kind of sound at the moment. I really want to mesh it with more modern types of sounds as well, but yeah. Orate asks, do you know how to get better in electronic music? I need to learn. Well, I suppose the short answer is training. Just do it. Just work at it. Sometimes I think today, with all the information we have and all the guides and all the YouTubes and so on, people think that it's going to go quick. But like I said in a previous video, when I started out with my hardware Yamaha RM1X, I think I spent a year just playing with the presets. I mean, not with the sound presets, playing with like MIDI files, like small drum patterns and synth patterns, and just trying to understand what fit together, just to understand what types of bass lines worked with what types of leads and what made that work, because I didn't really have that much traditional training. And I think I spent a year just fooling around with it before I actually made something that was sort of my own work. And I think just putting down the hours and grinding it out is very important. But then, of course, there are things you can do. You can, of course, learn more about music theory. You can look up tutorials. I do think there are some really good tutorials, especially when you watch somebody do the work in real time and you get an understanding of how it's done. You know, these shorter videos that I sometimes do and other people do, where you just cut small pieces out of a process, are probably not that good, because it makes it seem very easy and very inspirational, but not very good for learning. And there's also, you know, there's a lot of good learning tools. If you want to learn synthesis, for example, you can always check out Syntorial. Syntorial is a program. I should really do a review on it, but I haven't gotten around to it. I have a license for it. It's very interesting. It's like a very educational tool. It's a lot better, I think, than watching YouTube videos if you really want to deep learn and really get into something. So Syntorial is a really good program if you want to learn synthesis. So let's see here. Orate asks, where did you find the Converse sample library? The Converse sample library, you can just Google it. Google Converse sample library and you should be able to find it. It's like a big site with a ton of free samples. You can't like download a lot of them at the same time. So you have to pretty much, you know, go in and listen and do. But it's really good for finding, if you know what you're after, if you're after like drums or guitar or something, you just want some interesting samples, I think it can be worth your time, definitely. So that's really, really good. So let's see here. Yeah, Discophone says that the iBook Store book. Discophone is talking about the guys from Ableton that made Live, the DAW Live. They made a book about music production, I think. And I've heard it's really good, but I haven't really read it. Basic Noise also has a very good suggestion here. Buy a small, simple setup and try to get the most out of it. He started with a Korg M1 using the internal sequencer, trying to do techno. Almost impossible, but I learned a lot. Yeah, I think this is also the thing. I remember that when I was on the RM1X, I had only that. I learned so much. But when I moved over to a computer and I started to download, of course I pirated. Maybe I pirated some software when I was like 19 or something, or 18, I don't know. Maybe. I'm not saying I did, but you know, back then it wasn't illegal and it was you know, everybody did it. And I you know, when I started to do that, it started to become this like gear craze or software craze where you wanted all the latest stuff and you downloaded and so on and so on. And I do think my learning became more shallow because of all the choices I had. And this is why I moved back from having a ton of plugins. So I mainly have like synth plugins, I have hardware synths, I have some hardware effects, but then I try to use the stock effects and stock effects and the dynamic processors and so on, because I don't really want to, you know, spend all that time just learning new things. I'm already spending too much time learning new things because I want to review stuff and so on for the channel. But yeah, I think that's out. That's definitely it. Virre asks, what about mixing, Fab Filter or Isotope? Good question. I've heard a lot of good things about the Fab Filter, but since I got Cubase 9 Pro and they made some really good updates to their stock plugins, I'm definitely not investing in either. So that's it. MU8 Sound asks, have you ever been in any bands, Bo? No, not really. We did some. I've been collaborating with people on different projects, and I have performed live, but I wouldn't say in a band per se, because I'm not a keyboardist. I don't really play any instrument that well live. I've done some rapping live. Yes, that you heard me correctly. I've rapped. There's rap music with Bobeats out there. Yeah, so some is actually not that bad. So I've collaborated with some vocalists on that. I've done some different collaborations. I'm working on some collaborations right now, and I think you'll be pleased at the results when it's done. It's taking a little bit of time, but it's, you know, it's getting there. John Chester asks, did you set up your channel just so you can justify your gas to your wife? Only kidding, Bo. Great channel. Thank you, John. But, you know, I've said it before and I say it again. I would not have this studio if I didn't have my YouTube channel. What do I mean by that? Well, I think I will elaborate on this in another video, but it's kind of one of my cornerstones. It's like one of my rules for being productive and buying things. You should only buy things if you are already productive. What does that mean? Well, if you aren't making stuff, if you're just sitting there like, I don't feel like doing anything, music isn't that fun, or, you know, you're not getting any work done, you're not feeling like being creative and so on, you should really start at that end. Like, why aren't you being creative? Is it something you don't want to do, or is something in the way, or you're depressed? Is there some reason why you're not making music like you did or something? You know, you have to work at that. And then buy gear once you are productive. Because otherwise, it's really easy to kind of procrastinate buying new stuff and never getting anything done. And I think this goes especially for a lot of beginners out there. And I don't have to, you know, I don't have to thread carefully here, because I've talked to a lot of people about this, and I've been very honest, saying like, if you're just starting out making music, you shouldn't buy too much gear. I see a lot of my friends that I'm talking to, you know, they have really nice setups, but they've been making music for like 1 to 5 years, and for me that's a very short period of time. I've been making music for 17 years, and I know a lot of you guys have been making music for 30 years, for example. So I think buying a lot of equipment too early will create like this procrastinating effect, where you're just like pushing your goals further and further to the future because you have all this gear to learn. It's like, once I learn the gear, I will make music. So when it comes to myself personally, I've always been creative in different ways, and I've always been fairly productive in different ways. I've always been managed to do a lot of things in a short time period. I did 10 years of education in 5 years, for example, because I studied 200%. I was the youngest university teacher where I work by 15 years, I think, when I started, or even more, 16, 17 years difference between me and my peers or my colleagues. So for me, when I started my YouTube, I told myself, Bo, you can't buy any new music gear unless you are consistently creating videos. So basically, I set this rule for myself. I won't spend money on stuff unless I actually have some kind of creative output. And it doesn't have to be music. For me, I was more interested in making videos. Videos about music, about creativity, about psychology. So that was kind of the rule I set up, and it's been working out pretty well. That's why I kind of want to limit myself a little bit this year, because I've already got a lot of stuff. I want to get more into it. I want to make more patches for the Minilogue and the Sub 37 and the circuit. I want to make more content for the hardware I got, and you know, focus on that. But I do have some, of course I have some new stuff coming up. I'm going to look at the Arturia's new MIDI controllers. I hope I'm going to look at the Teenage Engineering OPZ and some other stuff. But this is basically my kind of psychology oriented way of looking at it. So I hope you guys like that little rant. I don't really have a problem when people say like my mates over on the low pass podcast, they say like, Bo, you just hoard gear, you have so much stuff, and yeah, I do that, and it would be a problem if I wasn't creative. That's basically it. So let's see here. Aura Allure, good seeing you. I don't think I've seen you in the chat before, but good having you here, sir or lady. Have you ever encountered any researches related to the ergonomics of using rack synthesizers or modular synthesizers? By the way, love your channel, and it's always been one of the best. Thank you so much, Aura. Good having you. It's always a pleasure to see new people in the chat. I might have seen you before, and sometimes hard to remember. Research related to ergonomics of using rack synthesizers or modular synthesizers. No, I haven't seen any such research. I'm not exactly sure what you mean by ergonomics and the research. Maybe you can elaborate a little bit on what you're actually wondering about, and maybe I can give some insight to it. Rodrigo, good seeing you in the chat as well. I'm sorry if I'm butchering people's names, but as you can understand, it's you know, English isn't my first language, and names from different pieces of from different parts of the world are of course not always that easy to pronounce. John Gorgis asks, are you from Norway? No, I'm from Sweden. So don't you go insulting me. I am not from Norway. Oh. You know, we have this, it's funny. I'm not sure, John, if you're from Norway or somebody else is, but in the Scandinavian countries, we have this like how do you say, like a picking order. So I think Swedes joke about Danish and Norwegians and Finnish people. I think we joke most about Norwegians. I think we joke most about those, and we are kind of afraid of the Finns because the Finns, they have knives and they are these masculine men and they are so strong and they go to the sauna and so on. And I think the Finns joke a lot about the Swedes, I think, from what I've learned, but I'm not sure. So it's very fun. Floyd, are you from Norway, or where are you from? Floyd Erik Wafta sounds German or Dutch. John McKinnon says, "Yeah, better English than a lot of people who come from the UK." Yeah, I've heard so, and I'm getting better. If you look at like my first videos I did like 1 or 2 years ago, I'm talking really slowly and it's hard with the pronunciation, but it's getting there. I've always been speaking a lot of English, but I've also, you know, I've mainly been typing it on forums and so on, so it's quite different talking. Um, so yeah, Floyd, Eric, are you Dutch or Norwegian? P Wolf asks, what do you think of the OP1 as a first synth? Okay, so OP1 as a first synth. That's difficult to say. If you are truly interested in learning how to make music and you are truly devoted and will take the time to learn it, I think the OP1 could be a really, really good investment because it's this tight product. And when you're working with it, you won't get sidetracked doing other things. There's no Facebook, there's not a ton of plugins, blah, blah, and all that. But at the same time, I see a lot of beginners buying Electron stuff, buying the OP1 and so on. And since they haven't developed any skill prior to going into those kinds of synths, they get discouraged. Because it's definitely harder to make a song on the OP1 or the Electron gear if you're not already a little bit skilled. It's a lot easier to make a song in a DAW, for example, because you can just drag and drop samples. There's a ton of presets. Everything is very accessible. And so in general, when people ask me like, where should I start when I want to make music, I would say either get a Novation circuit because it's very easy to understand compared to something like the OP1, and it doesn't cost as much. You can find a used one for like 200 euros. And either a Novation circuit, or I would advise getting a DAW like Fruity Loops, Cubase, Logic, Ableton Live, or something like that. Because it is a lot harder to learning how to compose a song using these small form factor synthesizers than a DAW. A DAW is really a perfect tool in many ways, I think. And I have a lot of like, it's anecdotal evidence, but it's still like I have a lot of empirical like observations behind this. I see a lot of my friends, they start out with the hardware and they have trouble learning how to create a full song. And I do that myself. It's just something with the way when you use hardware patterns that it makes it a lot more difficult spreading out a song, learning how to do the intro and verse and so on. But if you are devoted and you think it looks fun and you want something that you can just sit down and play with and really get into, the OP1 could be it could be a lifelong learning experience. It could be a lifelong love. So that's pretty much it. Orate asks, so you don't like Swedish fish, I'm guessing. No, I don't like the Swedish. I don't like that. I like fish in general, but I don't like that particular brand of fish. Herring, I like herring, but I don't like. Is it called herring? The herring that you have, like the raw herring that we have in Sweden, that's disgusting. Okay, Floyd, you're Norwegian American. Born and raised in Norway. Hur många norrmän krävs det för att göra en låt? Eller något. Last name originates from France. Lost Jeff says, hello from BC, Canada. Synthesis forever. Good seeing you. Good having some people here from Canada. Isn't like, it should be night time in Canada at the moment, isn't it? Or very early morning. Aha, alright, you meant the candy. Sorry, man. Sorry, I'm so stupid. The Swedish fish candy. I yeah, I like the Swedish fish candy. It's very good. It's very good. It's very nice. Aura asks, the study of people's efficiency in their working environment, like the most healthy way of using a rack synthesizer, similar to a healthy way of sitting in front of a computer. No, sorry, Aura, I haven't really. Ergonomics is not really a field I've studied much. Just I've done some observations. And my observations are that when you're working a lot with a computer or a synth, you will hurt yourself in some way. I think if you're not very mindful of your stance and how you work and taking breaks. I think the problem is that it's hard to take a break when you're in the flow, but it's really easy to get I have a bad neck and bad shoulders at the moment from all the, you know, synth tweaking and all the commenting on Facebook and so on. So that's I think it's a big problem, but I haven't seen much research on it. Tony is from America, and we have Orate from Georgia. Is that? Yeah, it's Georgia in the US, I suppose. Or because I'm not certain how. Because there's a country, right, with a similar name? I'm not sure. Geographics, not my strong suit. I could probably be American in that sense. Shots fired. Let's see here. Rodrigo asks, do you have a live setup that you use outside of the studio? How does it look like? So I'm not playing live at the moment. I don't really have like a venue for playing live. I would love to do it. I have ideas to play live in the future, but at the moment I'm not at that point in my life. And my idea is to use a double circuit with the Launch Control XL setup that I have set up over on a table over there in the back. And my idea is to use this in order to play live and connect and use like a MIDI splitter in order to connect a couple of different synthesizers to it as well. For example, I'm thinking of using like the Moog Mother 32 because it's quite small, but you can still get a lot of sound out of it and so on. So that's yeah. So that's my plan. P Wolf is from Austria. Well, good having somebody from Austria here as well. So I think we'll be listening to another demo track or a track I've made. Let's see here. Okay. So this next track is made with the Syntronic software that I'm currently working with in order to review it. I hope to have a video up this coming week, just a first look at the Syntronic. And the Syntronic software is from IK Multimedia. They sent me a license so I could check it out, and so far I think it's quite interesting. It's definitely something, you know, that competes with the Arturia V Collection, and I told you guys earlier that the V Collection is more CPU heavy and it has a lot more deeper synthesis possibilities, while the Syntronic is like 60 gigabytes, and it has a lot of, I think it's a lot more sample based, and it has a different sound quality to it. It does sound richer sometimes and a little bit more authentic to my ear, but this is of course taste matters. But it does have less tweaking capability because the synths are a little, you know, less complicated or has a little bit less parameters. So I'll be playing a little song here I just made using the Syntronic software. right, so that was just a little Syntronic demo. IK Multimedia software that was just released, and it can be definitely worth checking out. I think there's a free version that you can check out as well as on IK Multimedia. I think you get a couple of presets that you can use, and it has a ton of emulations or clones of old synthesizers. So if you're looking for that more old school sound, it's definitely worth checking out. And it has a really interesting effects section that I like. It's very clean, it's very easy to use in order to get effects onto your synth sounds as well. So check out the free version if you're interested. And all the sound patches that you use with the Syntronic stuff is also usable with the sample tank stuff, so that's cool. So let's see here. Discophone asks, I missed your answer, but what kind of music from others are you going to review? So the idea, Miss Discophone, is to... so what Discophone is asking about is the music review streams that I want to make. And I feel like I want to do one today. So maybe if you guys thumb up this live stream right now, hit the thumbs up button if you want me to do a music review stream later today. Because I'm really interested in doing this, because it's a good way for me to give something back, you know, creating a little bit of a platform where we can listen to your music live here on Bobeats. So the idea is that I want you to send me your links to your music, and I'll play parts of it or whole tracks live here on the live stream. It could be pretty much any music as long as as long as it is your music, and I'll be listening to it and I'll give some feedback, and maybe the chat can chime in and give some feedback as well. And perhaps you can also, you know, post it with a question if there's anything in particular that you want me to focus on and you want the chat to focus on, because that's always very important. If you don't have a question or a problem that you want addressed, it's always much harder to give accurate feedback. But it can also just be that you want to show some of your music and want it to get heard, and we can talk a little bit about it. And I promise it won't be, I won't tolerate dissing or being overly critical, because we are not here to kind of pressure people in order to get them onto the charts or get them signed, or, you know, it's not that kind of aim that some streams have. My aim is more to create a very interesting community feel where we can listen to music, where we can give feedback, and focus more on the emotional and the personal aspects of music. Because to most hobbyists, I think that is the most important thing. I think focusing on what is you in your music is what will set you apart, and what will maybe get you heard or get you noticed, the you in your music. And of course, some people can just make really current music and make that work and get noticed, but in general, I think there has to be something personal in it. So that's what I want to focus on and try to communicate. And if you don't know, I am a university teacher, but not in music. I'm a educational psychology teacher at the university, and psychotherapist, a licensed one, a real one, not like a coach or something. So I really want to use that skill in order to communicate something about your music. And since I don't have the time to sit down and just give feedback on individual tracks all the time, I think doing it on a stream could be a lot of fun. So the idea here is that I will post on my Facebook and on my Twitter and ask you guys to link me your music. I've seen this done on other streams, and I think the most easy thing to do is to use SoundCloud links, because files, you know, sending files has the problem with the viruses. It has the problem with, you know, it could be, you know, it could be a broken file. You have to administer the files and so on. So I don't think we should be sending files. I think SoundCloud links or something that works the same way might work, and I'll be listening to it live here on stream and playing it for you guys, and also giving you guys some shout outs. So I hope you are interested in that. George, good seeing you as well. I know, George, that you said that you really like the idea of the music live streams, and I will definitely be playing some of your music if you want to. So let's see here. Context asks, why do you think Swedes are so creative? And what's your opinion of Swedish gear, Electron Teenage Engineering Nord? I think, oh man, that's a big question. Why are Swedes so creative? Okay, so let's get a little bit political up in this place. If you don't know, Sweden is considered internationally to be like a socialist country. Scandinavia has always had a very strong social democratic movement. And this has also been criticized in Sweden and from abroad for being bad for business, for being bad for individuality. But at the same time, I don't want to get too political, but at the same time, Sweden has been flourishing when it comes to innovation and creativity. And at the same time, we've had major international brands competing in pretty much all sectors, like cars, IKEA, even food distribution and so on. We've had we're major pharmaceutical companies. So it's very interesting because I'm not sure how these two things fit together. Because if we had this like oppressive politics here in Sweden, like oppressive of the individuality of people, why do we have such a flourishing creative life in Sweden? And I think that if anything, if I am to look at something, I would say that we have a very stable society. We have a very stable society. We haven't been to war for a long time, and we have a very stable society. And it doesn't, necessarily have to do with the exact politics, but we've just, managed to create a stability in all of Scandinavia. Norway was kind of to war. Yeah, Norway was in the Second World War, and Finland as well. And still, in Finland, we also have a lot of stability. And in Denmark was swallowed by the Nazis. But still, there's a lot of stability, political stability, and a lot of social security. So in turn, this has also led to a lot of infrastructure being built. We have not only, when I say infrastructure, I mean not only like roads, I mean internet, but also social, it's like a social infrastructure. We have a lot of music schools today, maybe not as much as like 20 years ago, but we have had a lot of effort put into culture. And I think it's been possible because we don't have all of the other social issues at the level of some other countries, if we compare to France or compared to the US, for example. And this in turn, I think, has promoted a climate where it's very possible to foresee a future as a creative person in Sweden, even though we don't have the best climate for example, a small business I'm talking about now. We have high taxation rates, we have high VAT, like the tax on goods. So for like a small business like myself, it's not ideal, but at the same time it is, because I do feel secure enough to be able to do what I'm doing part-time. So it's intricate. It's very hard to explain and very hard to understand, because it should really be, if we think about it the way like the narrative is spoken, like Sweden is this socialist country with this very big government, and there's little individual freedom. And at the same time, we have all these expressions of individuality and creativity. It's very strange. When I talk to, and of course, these are just my thoughts. I'm not really that political. But when I talk to friends, one of my best friends, he is an artist, painter. And his girlfriend is from the UK. And UK obviously have a very different history, and both politically and when it comes to wars and so on. But when she talks about being an artist in the UK, she says it's just such, it's worlds apart being able to sustain yourself as an artist in the the UK compared to in Sweden, because of the lack of social security in the UK. Now, I'm not sure if that's true, and perhaps you guys, I know some of my viewers are from the UK, maybe you can relate. So while some people think this security net we have in Sweden is bad for creativity and innovation, and it oppresses people, for poor creative people, I think it's been very good. in some ways. I know a lot of my artist friends, you know, they have they go on, so have all of them have gone on to social security, sometimes getting money from the state, you know, when things have been rough. They've gone through rough patches and they've managed to get themselves on their feet. So for an artist, I think, yeah. So okay, that's a long rant, and you know, it's just a very interesting topic, and it's very complicated. And sometimes I think it also has to do with the long period of peace. But at the same time, Denmark and Finland and Norway went to war in the Second World War. So I'm not sure if that holds up either. But it's a very interesting topic. Linus Minus, good seeing you, mate. Always good seeing you here. So we've had a little bit of a political talk here. You know, I don't really think it's you know, politics is very difficult to talk about online, but I do think that the Scandinavian countries are doing something right when it comes to social security. That much I will say, and economics seem to agree more and more, because just like 20 years ago, the Scandinavian countries were looked at like an anomaly, but then we had all the crashes in 2008, for example. And suddenly the Scandinavian countries were looked at like, wait, this system actually makes financial sense, because it does lead to a lot of stability. We were hurt as well by the financial crisis, but not as much, because we had a little bit of a different approach to certain things. Some economists, they divide Europe into different zones, and you have the Scandinavian zones, and then you have like Germany and the UK and so on. They are like this middle zone. They have and then you have the southern zones like Spain and Greece. And you can see how the different economic principles that these countries or zones apply have also impacted them differently when it comes to the crisis of the last like 10 or 20 years. But let's move on from this. Micro Banshee, good seeing you here as well. I've got your back, Bo. I'm guarding that thumbs down button. Thank you, Micro. You know, the thumbs down. I've been talking to Micro about the thumbs down. The amount of thumbs down on some of my videos are just silly. I mean, some provocative topics I can understand. But sometimes I just don't. I think I can be honest, and I can say that I think that synth and music lovers on YouTube, sometimes they don't understand the platform. It's like they come onto the platform expecting something different. I've had people telling me like, why are you sitting here talking? And I'm like, this is YouTube. What else would I do? And sometimes, and I think that's why there's so much love for, you know, I probably would get more views if I only posted, like I made a synth channel and I only posted synth demos, like no talking, only synth demos. But I don't really feel that's interesting. But, you know, you can see like a synth demo that is very poorly made, pretty uninteresting, and it has like 1 million views. So, I mean, I'm not complaining. I'm very curious about it. Because I'm very curious about behavior. I'm a behavior nerd. I try to understand behavior. So let's move on from this. George asks if it's okay with Dropbox links when it comes to the music feedback stream. No, I don't want Dropbox links. I need something online, like SoundCloud or something equivalent. I don't want anything that is you know, connected to individual files that I'm receiving in some way. I need some online resource that is accessible. I think I need some kind of standard. So SoundCloud links. So let's see here. Yeah, we have some thoughts here on the politics, but I think we'll let that rest, you know. I've been thinking about doing like a more political channel on YouTube, but then again, I don't, you know, the thumbs down would be insane. Orate asks, why thumb down a Bobeats video? Why? Yeah, I mean, I can understand I have some bad videos, but sometimes I think I think Micro said it best earlier, that maybe it's jealousy or it's anger, or, you know, I've gotten some attention from people, and I think that maybe that's annoying to some people. I'm not sure, but yeah. Linus asks, can we make a song together? Linus, you send me some samples and I'll use them. Sorry. At the moment, honestly, I mean, this is a question I do get like a couple of times every week, and I'm very honored that people are asking the question, some seriously, some for fun. But at the moment, I'm not really open to any collaborations other than with other YouTubers, and even at that, when it comes to other YouTubers, I don't really have the time to really devote myself to collaborations at the moment. So if you have a good idea, that, you know, something you really feel passionate about, that you want me to participate in, you can always shoot me an email. The email can be found on most of my videos, and I'll look at it. Definitely, I'm definitely open to ideas, but in general, I don't have the time to kind of drive a project. It has to be a project that you are in charge of. Richie Animation asks if I can accept YouTube links for the review stream. Yeah, Richie, I can definitely accept YouTube links. YouTube links, SoundCloud links, and whatnot can be good for a review stream. So what we are talking about when it comes to review stream, if you don't know, is that I want to do a music review stream where I listen to your music live here on the stream and I give feedback, and it's just a way for me to give back. And you have to hit me up on Facebook or Twitter when I post. I will be making posts where I'll be asking you to link your stuff. So basically you have to go to Facebook and you look up Bobeats over on Facebook, or you look up Bobeats Music on Twitter and you follow me there. So I have some way to gather your links, and I think that's the best way. Good morning, Han Live. Good morning to you. Here it is almost noon. Discophone says, I like the way you are so honest, and that's the reason why you got so much viewers. Yeah, I suppose. I've never felt like, you know, of course there's things I might be holding closer to my chest, but in general, I've never been fearful of being honest. And I'm not the kind of guy that is honest in this, you know that kind of brutal honesty, the kind of brutal way that people say, like, I'm just being honest. I'm not being rude or negative. I'm just being honest. I don't feel that type of honesty is always that good. I think it's very egocentric most of the time. I think honesty has to do with being honest with your perspective, and people that are honest in a rude way are more honest about their thoughts about you. So when people are like brutal, I often feel like that has more to do with their thoughts about something you're doing, like their egocentric perspective. And there's of course some people that can contain this and be very, you know, specific and clear in their feedback in a good way, but oftentimes I feel it's too brutal. And I also think there's this culture on the internet, and this is why I want to do the feedback stream, because there's this culture, and I have some friends doing live stream with music feedback, and I still think they are a little bit too brutal. I think being specific, being clear, concise, being, you know, giving good feedback is one thing, but I do also think that being borderline rude to people is a part of the internet that I don't really appreciate. So I go into most of my conversations on the internet, except when I'm trying to be funny, which often fails because I'm not really inherently funny. I have a pretty poor sense of humor. I think I spend too much time alone thinking about stuff. But except when I'm being funny and trying to be funny, I go into most conversations like I would as a teacher. Like, I try and be respectful. I try to understand somebody else's perspective. And of course, this brings me a lot of trouble because sometimes people troll me and they ask stupid questions and they behave obnoxiously. We've had that on the channel the latest couple of days. You know, people coming in and just being rude. But it's not a big problem. I mean, it's just a couple of people, and the majority are super nice and supportive. So that's very cool. Yeah. JJS says you're very real in your videos. Your personality really comes through, which I really like. Thank you. And this has been a journey for me because it's not been super easy. It's not been that easy being personal in front of a camera. That's something else. Having a camera there makes you self-conscious, makes you think about what you're saying a lot more, and can really be detrimental to doing something personally. That's why sometimes it's been hard for me to record my process, my creative process, because I felt like the camera has been in the way. I know Linus Minus has been challenging me to make more videos where I use like my entire setup, but in all honesty, the reason why I haven't, two reasons. Firstly, because I've been building on it, and that's one way to keep it in the future, procrastinating. But also, secondly, and most importantly, because I haven't felt like I found a good way to capture my process, like a more linear process over time with the camera without feeling disingenuous. Filiberto asks, what do you do for a living? So for a living, I do a number of different things. I have a couple of videos here on the channel that you can check out as well. They are called quitting my job for YouTube and Did I Quit My Job for YouTube? 2 videos. And mainly for the last 7 years, I've been teaching at university level, teaching educational science and mainly educational psychology, leadership, communication skills, thesis supervision, and so on. So that's and even some drama and theater as well on university level. And I've been working at a healthcare facility as a psychotherapist. And also been educating myself, doing like part-time education the whole time to getting a more advanced degree in that as well. But as of this year, I've cut down. So I work about 50% at the university and I work 50% in my own company. And my own company consists of doing music work, doing YouTube, doing patches that I sell. So I have... Also, you can check my YouTube. I have a couple of videos showcasing some of my new patches for the Minilogue, and I've got some circuit patches. So that's kind of part of my income, I suppose. And I also have a Patreon where people support me, support the work I do here on the channel by donating a small sum every month. And that has been going pretty well as well. So if you want, you can check that out as well. I think the links are in the description. But I also do... This fall I will also do some work in my company for schools, doing some supervision and so on. Basically some coaching. You can call it that. So I'll be doing a little bit of both. Yeah, and I'll also try to release music frequently on my Bandcamp and so on. So let's see here. What other people asking here? Let's see here. So thank you, guys. Thank you so much for all the kind comments you're leaving here regarding the way I present myself. I think that it's very nice to read, and having that kind of feedback from you guys, you know, in a constructive way is always appreciated. Richie Animation asks, are there any music forums you recommend, Bo? So I only recommend Facebook groups because I don't hang on forums anymore. I was a big forum user a long way back, but you know, I feel disconnected from the whole forum culture. So I do do spend more time on Facebook. So if you're into synthesizers, I would go to Synthesizers and Drum Machines forum on Facebook. I think it's a good group. I am an admin over there, and there's, you know, we have a very strict policy on trolling and bad behavior. We have like a moral code of conduct there. So we try and you know, keep it as friendly and as positive as possible, because we don't really, the admins over there we don't really see, you know, any need for big arguments or personal attack. We don't see that as a good part of the internet, really. It's just not very useful, and it doesn't really create a good climate for asking for help and so on. So let's see here other questions that I should answer. So I need to just, you know, take a minute, read through your questions, and we'll be listening to another track that I have lined up here. So this is a Coffee with Bo. The coffee has ran dry since like a half hour ago, but I have a couple of tracks I want to play to you guys, and this is basically what we do on a coffee stream. Coffee streams are like these morning streams where I just hang out with you guys, we answer some questions, and we listen to some music that I've been making. Sometimes it's older music, sometimes it's newer. So let's see here. I'm just going to see if I can find, I'm pretty certain I downloaded a track that I wanted to play you guys. Let me see here. I'm just going to I thought I had it downloaded, so I'm just going to see here, so I don't take the wrong track. I'm just trying to find a track here. Yeah, okay, so I found the track. So we'll listen to, this is kind of an epic beat or epic tune. All right, so that was a little epic tune that I made using I think the Polyplex drum machine from Native Instruments. It is I have some questions about samples. This song doesn't contain any loops or like pre-recorded material, but it does contain like drum samples because the Polyplex is like a drum synthesizer based on synth sounds. And the 86, this is a synth. We call it SYNTH Q&A, but 86, as you might know, live streams do tend to derail at some point, and I've been streaming for like 1 hour 50 minutes, and so we derailed into politics and into YouTube drama. But we are back on track. Synthesizers are the main focus. And I saw your question, 86, yeah, 86. You asked about the Minilogue and about the tinny sound of the Minilogue. And yeah, I kind of agree with you. The Minilogue has this kind of metallic tone to it, which sets it apart a lot from other synths. And that's why I like it. Now, can you work around it? I think so. I think if you haven't checked my latest video where I showcase some sounds, or you can go to my SoundCloud and you can check the demos, I think at least some of the sounds are a little bit warmer, less tinny. So I think there are workarounds, but yeah, overall, I think it has a very particular sound. It doesn't really work for every song. It definitely doesn't work for all styles. So it could be a kind of a drawback. Could be a drawback. Yeah, I know 86. I know you're just joking with me. It's super cool. So let's see here. So the song I played you is actually an upcoming track that I'm going to release over on my Bandcamp. It's kind of this epic tune. I think it's very inspired by Era, and like classically oriented group or band or producer, as well as what's her name again? Enya. I listened to a lot of Enya way back. So yeah. So I saw some questions up here that I wanted to answer. Linus Minus asks or says, I feel like the internet is really fast, and for some YouTubers, their fans even get angry if they do not upload daily. Do you know what I mean? How do you feel about this? Yeah, I think a big problem with today's technology is that it's so fast and we are so consumed by it. We have less and less patience with stuff. So people have this really fast mental pace, and they want to get fed with new content. And of course, I've seen this on my channel as well. If I upload daily or every other day compared to once a week, I do see an effect. It's like YouTube is built for people to upload daily at the moment. It's something that is promoted, I think, by the platform. So yeah, and I think that is something that we will see a backlash on. I don't think things will just go faster and faster. I do think we are even today seeing some kind of effects where people quit Facebook and they try and not sit so much in front of a computer because they get stressed out. So I think it's a part of our culture, but I also think it's not necessarily the future. So let's see here. Orate says, I wish my house wasn't so messy. Well, there's a very good solution to that problem. When this stream is over, you have homework, and your homework is to go and clean your house. Atopi, good seeing you. I saw some of you other guys as well saying hello. Can't remember who I missed. Orbix Music said hello, good morning to you. Good morning, Atopi, as well. Oh yeah, the volume. I'm sorry with the volume, Atopi. That is definitely something on the to-do list. Learning how to level the volume more reliably. At the moment, I'm still a newbie when it comes to using OBS software, so that's something I need to work on. But hopefully it'll work out decently. So I hope you can stand the different levels. Shed, good seeing you as well. George asks how to send your links to SoundCloud. So George, my idea is when I do a music live stream, I will make a post. I'll make a post on my Bobeats Facebook page and Twitter, and you can just drop a comment with the link. So that way I'll have all the links in one place. So that is how we'll do it. So basically, this means you will have to be keeping an eye out when I post, and I think that is the way we'll do it. And of course, you'll be able to do it while I'm doing the review stream as well. But I will be prioritizing people who post to me early, and of course patrons that support me on patreon.com/Bobeats, because it feels natural. Shed asks, I've been offered the PO Rhythm and Arcade pretty cheap. Do you think they are worth buying, or are they pretty limited in your view? I don't think they are limited considering the cost. Say if you can buy them for cheap, I suppose you're buying them for like 20 euros or 30 euros or 40 euros or something. I don't think that is a lot of money for that kind of tool. And I think they have a lot of depth to them, more than meets the eye. So if you can get them for a good price, it can definitely be fun. You can always sell them later. I think there's a decent used market for them. So definitely. Discophone says you might drown in links. No, I don't think I'll drown in links for the music review stream. And of course, I won't be able to play everything as much as I want. So, okay. So guys, I am soon going to end this live stream. This has been a Coffee with Bo stream. But before we end, I'd like to ask you to help me out a little bit. Okay, so my idea is to make a music review stream this evening. This evening in Swedish time. I think it's CEST time. I'll post it in. This evening, I'm thinking of doing a music stream. And I'm thinking of doing it 8 o'clock CST. So you guys can start helping me out now. What time is 8 o'clock in Sweden in your time? Because I'm so goddamn poor at the time zones. I know there are converters, but I thought, you could help me out a little bit. So I'm thinking of doing the live stream 8 o'clock CEST. I'll be posting on Facebook, doing like a post where you can post your music, and we'll be listening to your music live here on Bobeats this evening. And George kicks off by saying, it's the same time where I live. So that's good to know, George. That's good to know. So 8 o'clock. My idea here is if you're in Europe, you'll probably be done with your supper, or you can watch this before your supper. And if you are in the US or Canada or Australia, it should be like midday or something. So Atopi. So 3:58 a.m. Mountain Time US, is that in the middle of the night, or is that in the, because AM PM, I'm sorry, I'm good at some things, but time stuff is really confusing to me. So what time is it right now? In Sweden it's noon. It's 12 o'clock CST noon at the moment in Sweden. It's pretty much 12 o'clock. Usually when I do the morning streams, I do them between 10 CST and 12. Linus Magnus asks, can you please upload the music review stream after? Yes, definitely. So this stream I did today, I'll probably make a highlight of and post some time later. And the music review stream I will probably upload in its entirety or cut down a little bit. Okay, so AM is morning, PM is afternoon. That's good to know, John McKinnon. I always mix that up. So basically, if you are in the east coast of USA, it'll be 2 p.m. So it's basically, it's basically 6 hours 6 hours behind. 7 p.m. in the UK. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I mean, that's the idea here. So, so Atopi says that would be noon Mountain Time today if you go at 8 p.m. Yeah, that was what I thought. I was kind of confused when you said a.m. because it sounded like it would be in the night. But yeah, so my idea is to go at 8 o'clock tonight Swedish time, which should be around noon today. So if you want to, you can head over to Bobeats on Facebook and like the page, and watch out for my post. I'll be posting just a couple of minutes after this live stream is closed down, and you can check out the post. Or I can actually let me just go there right now. Let me go to Facebook right now and make a post about this. Let's see here. Let's make a post, and I'll link it to you. Or can I link it? I'll link the page when I've done the post. So it's called Music Review Stream today at 2000 hours CST, and 2000 hours CEST should be. Let's see here. Let me just see what you guys said. You're helping me out with my math here. Yeah. So let's see here. So it should be 2 p.m. East Coast USA, if I'm not understanding. So I'm just writing the post, and I'll link it to you so you can check it out. All right, so my page is, I link my page. Here is my page on Facebook. If you go there and you'll check out my latest post called Music Review Stream, you can put a comment with a link to your SoundCloud or your YouTube. Just one submission for every So just one submission per person, and you'll link your music, and we will do a music review stream tonight. Hopefully everything will work out with technology behind it, but it should be working pretty nicely. And we'll listen to music, I'll give some feedback, and I think it'll be a nice time, really. So, you know, that's the idea here. So if you're into that, you can go there. You can also let's see here. Yeah, Atopi, I'm confused too. Time zones. You know what, Atopi? Check my post. I'll update my post today. Basically, okay, Atopi, it's very easy. It's 8 hours from now. It's exactly 8 hours, or yeah, minus 5 minutes or something, but it's 8 hours from now. Oh, Linus, I think Spotify can work. Spotify can work as well. I think it can work. I'm just saying that. I know that SoundCloud links and YouTube links will work, but I can't promise that iTunes and Spotify will work. I hope so. I will try and make it work, but it's always a hassle. So submit the finished tracks or unfinished. You can do either, but I think try and post with a question in mind, DJ. So if you post something, post with a question. If there's something, you know, you want feedback on, it could be anything. It could be like a general, what do you think about this? How do you enjoy it, or something, you know, or it could be very specific, like how's the mixing and so on. And, you know, we can talk a little bit about it. It's not a hardcore review stream where I'm going to trash anything or be super critical. So you can always, I'll probably update this post. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I really wanted to do something like this for a long time. So this is basically like an 8,000 subscriber special where we listen to your music, and I'll be happy to check it out on stream. So I hope you are interested in doing so, in posting your music. So you can just post finished stuff. You can post stuff that you want me to check out, just to do something fun together. So, and like Lost Jeff Ukulele says, 8 hours from now, regardless of time zone. Yeah, definitely. That's a good way to put it. It's 8 hours from now. Regardless of where you are in the world, an hour is an hour. So that's good. That's good. And you have to be okay with maybe sound levels being a bit different and so on, because it's not easy at the moment for me to keep everything super in check. So hopefully I won't blow any speakers this evening. I'll probably do a post over on Twitter as well. If you are interested in checking out my Twitter, let me just grab a link for that as well. Here is my link for my Twitter. Then it's also possible to follow me there and to interact with me over there. And yeah, so it's been really nice having you guys here. It's always fun to see so many people show up. I think we've had somewhere between 50 and 40 people here almost concurrently, and that's been really cool. And you know, it's just a lot of fun. It's just a lot of fun hanging out, talking about music, showing you some of my work in progress, answering some questions, and of course we get derailed sometimes. But generally we try to keep it close to music. We talk about synthesizers, we talk about music production, we talk about related topics. It's basically like a little bit like a radio show, I think the aim is. And this evening, if you haven't been paying attention, this evening, about 8 hours from now, you can submit your music to my review stream that I'll be doing tonight. We will be listening to your music, talking a little bit about it, and we'll just see how it goes. It's just a first test to do it. I know other streamers do it, and I enjoy the idea. If you have specific questions, specific stuff that you want feedback on, you can just post that on my Facebook page or on Twitter in order to let me know, and I'll be checking it out. And just you can post Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube links. Hopefully I'll get all those things working. And priority, of course, to patrons over on patreon.com/Bobeats, and regardless of how you support me there. And yeah, I think that is pretty much it. So let me just check if there's any other questions. Linus says, you look like Jesus. Yeah, I know. I got this Jesus image. Yeah, I've heard that before. Yeah. Cool, Atopi, that you enjoyed the Desert Islands show. And yeah, I know it's very hard to catch all people from different parts of the world with a live stream. It's just that if I do a live stream for US people, it would be probably in the middle of the night for me, and then I wouldn't be able to sleep very well. So that's a big problem for me. So yeah. Okay, guys. So I have to end the stream now, and I have to say thank you so much. If you want to support me in some way, you can always check out my patches over on sellify.com/Bobeats. You can hit me up on Facebook, Twitter, subscribe here. You can like the videos. You can become a patron over on patreon.com/Bobeats. But, you know, it's not mandatory in any way, and I'm very just thankful that you're coming here and hanging out. So, to the ones that I'll be seeing tonight, I hope you have a pleasant day so far. Post your music, and we will be seeing each other later today. So, have a good evening, and have a good evening or a good day or wherever you are. So, see you later.